Welcome to another episode of Bespoke Architects Daily Pinup. I'm Nicole Walters, Director of Bespoke Architects, and I'm about to show you what inspiring architectural images made our Pinterest boards today. It's been a long weekend here for Easter, so there is quite a few different pins to get through today, so I will try to be quick and thorough with my description. There was a lot of materials that made the boards, a lot of light fittings, a lot of kitchen island benches. So if these are things that are of interest to you in your next project, stick around. This little image here was pinned for that material palette around that vanity basin rather. You can see it's the same material going down the wall around that suspended basin and then back down the wall with the complementary black surround. So I just thought that was a beautiful little vanity basin. Obviously you could mix those colors up. You wouldn't necessarily have to do the contrasting black and white. I just thought that was a really beautiful little vanity unit there, and the toilet is concealed. You can see it there at the back of the image by that vertical pillar at the end of that vanity bench. So I just thought that was a really nice design solution there. Up here, it was just, again, the stone itself. We're seeing really strong sort of marbles and tessellated looks, terrazzo looks coming in rather. So again, another inspiring, just different product there. And I particularly like the way this curved bench had been made with segments of the stone. This image here, I pinned it for that stunning light fitting above the dining room table. It does appear to be a bit like a branch. So that was the pin there. I do like the rest of the material palette there, but it was the light fitting that caught my eye. And again, the material palette on the outside of this building here with the roof material and the wall material being the same, and then this contrasting metal paneling around that. So I thought that was really lovely. Another vanity bench. This one, we've got the same material on the floor, on the wall, and then the shaving cabinet with its underlighting underneath is acting as that big break before we change into a vertical cladding above. So again, we're seeing the contrasting blacks and whites, and then the contrasting with the verticals. Black is very much still on trend here, although you will notice both of these pins have gone back to more of a stainless or a chrome tap fitting, not a black tap fitting. From that same project, we had the bathroom, so a slightly, what would you say that? A more sort of monochromatic tile, so it doesn't have the texture of this tile up here, but it is in that same palette. I pinned this one for the shower door. I really like that. Be aware it is swinging into the shower, but I just really like that as a shower door. The way the tiles are finishing at that transom height in the window, then they're wrapping across at the top of the door, and then we have the towel rail next to that and the bath underneath. It's just a beautiful composition for a bathroom, and obviously the detailing has been thought through. This image here at the older portion of that house, it was the choice of window furnishing. That's a drape. It is puddling on the floor underneath. It is hanging on a rail that we can see. There is no pelmet. And it was just the chosen height of that rail there on the wall. It's not at picture rail height. It's not at window head height. It's just sort of floating, but I quite like it. So that's why that made the board today. Another contrasting sort of bathroom where we're using that handmade Moroccan tile there on the background. We've got the heavy texture vanity bench, the contrasting solidness of the front of that vanity, and then the sort of more pale or complementary, I guess, wall tile there. It's working well with those little handmaids. It is working well with the stone bench top. So if we just go back, forgive me, and then back. It is a beautiful bathroom, and I really like that wall light that is there as well. That same bathroom, it had a really strong color palette in that kitchen, and that's why that image has made the board. Just that material on that island bench is stunning. Again, they've really gone to town on their joinery. They've got a full book wall that you walk through into the next room, and I really like that with the traditional sort of library ladder look there. We've done those a couple of times before, not actually for bookcases though. We've used them for other joinery solutions, but I really liked that. That's why that one is on the board. Again, the pendant light above the dining room table has made the board. And while we're carrying on, this little project here, I really like that as a parapet form with this contrasting green steel. And then it had this incredible vaulted brick ceiling that I really enjoyed. So it was just that whole combination of materials that got that project on the board today. It's interesting. It's interesting without being overly complicated in terms of its material palette. It's sitting very much within a grid, and then it does this really interesting curve. So that's why it made the board. And then we can see here on the internal staircase that curve, that vaulted curve, and the bricks is actually the underside of that staircase. That was a really beautiful solution. Here I've pinned it for storage for bike solution. You know, I have a number of push bikes, a lot of people do. How's the best way to store those that are the most out of the way, give you the most floor space in your car storage, as well as protecting your push bike? So that one has made the board. I do have a board for cycling, where you'll probably find that image. This little York house, I loved the external material. I did think it was concrete when I saw this image pop up on the newsletters this morning. It turns out it is a metal profile, and I really, really like it. I also like the way it's sort of cantilevering across its slope on the site. So I just thought that was a beautiful cantilever and a beautiful external fabric. This Almoror house here, I just really enjoyed their material palette. It transcends inside and outside. This is a mezzanine that overlooks a void, and I really liked the way they'd done that with their window furnishings. And then their ceiling shape was also very interesting. And then the beauty of the timber, we can see it here on the outside, and then, as I say, carrying in on the inside into that balustrade and into the floor. Here's a better view of that ceiling. I just really like that wave shape on that ceiling. And then it looks quite square from this image, but you can actually see the curve in that back window there. And this image here was up there more for that composition, if I move my mouse off of it, around that window there, and then this front door image here. Forgive me, I have a very sensitive mouse today. Going back to my Pinterest board, I didn't recognize any of them, and that's because I didn't pin them. This one here, it was the car parking solution. So that's a timber batten, but there's actually nothing behind that timber batten. So that was that would let airflow into your garage if that's something that you're needing for, if you're doing sort of woodworking or anything like that, and you want to keep the door down and you wanted the airflow. That was an interesting solution, and quite a nice driveway too. I really enjoyed the pillars there at the street frontage. This little house here has made it just for the composition of the vertical element, the horizontal element, and the materials. This 1972 house, I just love that fireplace. That actually is a home office solution, given the COVID-19 situation that we find ourselves in at the minute, is very attractive. Look at that. You've got a fireplace, you've got a lounge suite, and you've got a desk. What more could you ask for? So that's why that one made the board. It was actually, you will find it on our fireplace board, but that whole setup is very appealing. And then from that same property, the kitchen, it's extraordinary. It's 3 sections. So it has the an island bench here that's covered to the walkway next to it, the central island bench where all the cooking's happening, and it has these incredible little floating stools off this end of it near the dining table. And then this far wall here has got the sink in it with the skylight above. So that is why that has made the Pinterest board today. I do not want a pin code at the moment, thank you. Moving right along, this particular flooring product is incredible. It looks like parquetry, but they're actually tiles that clip together. I quite like that as a solution. If you do follow the link on that pin, you will see that it comes in a variety of colors and patterns as well. So it's got choices, it's not limiting. And I can assure you I'm not pressing my mouse button, it's just choosing to show you in big today. This one I pinned for the staircase. It's got several stairs. This is it. From the outside, it was that cantilevered roof and the fact that it's in a sunken garden that caught my eye. And then as I was going through, I just really liked their stair solution. So it looks like concrete underneath, timber above. and then this timber stair, and the way that that glass balustrade is recessed into those treads is really a beautiful detail. I really like that. And then this is a concrete stair from that same project. So again, you'll see that the difference there with the solid wall and the concrete, it's quite a dark stair versus this more open and airy stair and this one here. So again, your materiality of your staircase, whether they're an open tread or a closed tread, whether we've got solid balustrade or glass, and then what type of lighting we've got around it really influences the way a staircase feels to use. So always worth keeping in mind. That's why I try to pin a variety of stairs so that we can talk through in detail what it is that's appealing and what works and doesn't work in a staircase for the client. This particular courtyard from that same project, I just pinned it. I love the planting. I love the fact that it's surrounded by really high walls and it's got a cantilever coming across, yet still that it's softened by the landscaping that they've chosen to plant in that space. So I really liked that. This one I pinned for the screening material and the fact that it was asymmetrical to the roof, so it's not trying to match. It just adds depth to that facade, and I really liked the way that those two materials are working together on that elevation. Again, I pinned this one for the wallpaper in that bathroom. I just found that floral to be a really big and beautiful and work really well in that bathroom. This one here was pinned for light fittings above that dining room. I just really liked the shape. This one here I pinned for the front door, so you'll find that on our door boards. It's just a pale blue door in amongst the copper. Assumably the copper is going to patina off to green, and then those color palettes will work really, really well together. This one's on our joinery board, and it is a bunk and study solution. So obviously the bed's above and the study scenario is underneath. Which is a great thing if you're a person that suffers anxiety or a child with anxiety. Not actually having to go to bed looking at your homework can be of benefit. Spoken from experience there. Then the vanity solutions in this same project here that we just saw the beds in. I really liked the double overlap of these vanity mirrors without the mirror in the middle. We actually see the tile background pink in one bathroom, green in another. They've then got the magnifying mirror next to that. They've got some great lighting around those vanities, so you should have great lighting in order to do your makeup or your just your general daily facials and that sort of thing. You should have really great lighting around those for that. I enjoyed the way that the bath sort of became the vanity in this project. I thought that was a really nice use of material. It makes the green tiles stand right out. And in this one, we're seeing the plywood and the pink. So I thought that was a really nice bathroom. I really liked the green Kit Kat with the white grout on the vertical. It works particularly well on a curve. We have done it ourselves in one of our curved bathrooms that after COVID-19 will be heavily photographed. It's just a stunning tile solution for a curved wall. That same color palette from that same project, I pinned the stair again. This has got the solid balustrade in the vibrant green with the separate handrail, but it was the choice of the tread lighting that really caught my eye. So that's quite a dark space, and actually that green is making it a darker staircase. And then the choice to do the LED strip lighting where the back of the stair nosing meets that riser. I just thought that really lit up and looks well on the green. So that's why that made the board. I pinned this one for the lighting above that cosmetics counter. Again, that would work really well in a domestic situation or a residential situation, in a study area or in a bathroom or in a kitchen. It's quite nice track lighting. This little image up here, that lab residence where we saw the colourful bathrooms, I just really liked that window, the composition of the square within the triangle roof form. It was just really nice, quite simple but very effective in its appearance. I loved this dimmable LED pendant light. It is using a couple of my favourite materials being concrete and timber. That's a great piece of task lighting for above your kitchen island benches that we're always talking about. Here was a really interesting design solution for a kitchen island bench. It's more of a cross shape with the lights going down and up, so I did enjoy that. Whether it's as effective as a task lighting, I can't say, but I really did think it was a beautiful light solution. And you'll see it here. More, this pin was around the materials of that kitchen and how it blends in with the rest of this renovation. And again, that splashback tile is really effective. It is a lot of timber. We've got timber on the ceiling, the floor, and all our joinery, so maybe too timber heavy for some, but I really did enjoy the material palette used there and the consistency of that. And then we can see in this image that booth seating at the end of the kitchen is quite effective with its mustard playing off the yellow trim, the red trim rather, of the windows and doors in this back extension. This is another vanity that made it today. It's an enormous looking vanity basin from this angle, suspended, and I really enjoyed the copper sort of very bare basic tap that has been constructed, one's going to assume, by their plumber. But that is an enormous black vanity, so that's why that one is on the board. This one made the board for the screening, the white screening there. I'm really enjoying that same timber on timber house. Just the design around that joinery at the end there. There's all these floating shelves, look really, really pretty, and very light against the white, which is nice. Moving around here, again, it was the joinery solution. We're looking at the back of a television unit facing into an adjoining room, and they've used a translucent sheeting on the back of that TV to let the light through to the two spaces, but to really act as a divider between the living room and the dining room. So I really found that enjoyable. Another piece of great task lighting. This is where I think we're about to step into our kitchen island benches. Before we do that, I'll just touch base on this vanity bench up here. Again, it was the combination of material for the walls and then the really simple horizontal concrete element for that vanity bench, and then that floating vanity basin. I just really like that as a composition and a material palette, so that's why it's made the board. It will be in bathrooms under materials if you're looking for it. And then we deep dive into kitchen island benches. This one, it was the lighting above that caught my eye. So that's the really interesting sculptural LED. It should be throwing some good task lighting down onto the white tiled island bench. Again, I've expressed my opinion on using tiles on a workbench, so it wouldn't be my first choice, but it does look impressive. This one here, it was the concrete, the monolithic sort of concrete look of that island bench, where we've got our kitchen cooking component on this side, our sink on this side, and our fridge over there. This island bench, as do a number of the pins today, have the connected dining room sitting, and how you do that. So you drop the bench, it's the one material, and then how do you suspend that with the same material in the vertical leg? You can't play footsies under that table. So that was one solution. Here's another one where the timber wraps down from the workbench down onto the dining room setting, and it's got a really interesting shape. They've done some interesting things with their lighting, their little pendants. Whether that's enough at that end, I can't say. This one uses a mirror that will increase the size or the sense of space within that surrounding living room. I just thought that was really, it's sort of, especially at this particular size of a pin, it's a really interesting material choice for a kitchen. Not particularly good if you've got small children or dogs, but I really do like it, and I liked their lighting solution. This one was more again about how you do the seating at the island bench and then the different storage configurations off the back of that. I liked the suspended shelving above this particular island bench. You can see here that it's got the sink and what looks like a cooking zone. Within that island bench, it also appears to have an inbuilt chopping board. So I found that a really practical and interesting kitchen island bench with ample storage directly above in lieu of a pendant lighting that is often the favoured way to treat an island bench. This one here, we see that the island bench comes across at that same height as seating, and then they've created a sort of like a big bench bar stool, if you will, to sit at that, and that it all fits within the width of that island bench. So that was an interesting seating solution at the island bench. This one, you'll see the material just wraps up ever so slightly, concealing what's happening on the bench from those sitting at the dining room table, so enough to hide a dinner plate if you want to surprise your guests with what it is that you're serving them. I also really liked the joinery handles on that island bench. This kitchen here, I really liked the overhead storage at the back and the use of the tile. It's on the diamond shape lay, and it breaks before it hits the overhead, so that was just an interesting way to do it. This one here has the seating as a T-piece at the end. It also has bar stool seating on a raised timber section on that island bench with your wall of cooking happening along on a 90-degree angle, so that was interesting. I liked the suspended look of this particular island bench. It does have plumbing in it, so at some point that plumbing is going to be visible through that cantilever, but I really enjoyed that particular island bench. It appears more lightweight perhaps than its counterpart here, which is very solid with its waterfall end to the floor uninterrupted. No PowerPoints or anything hanging off the end of that island bench, which I quite like. This island bench here, it has a full piece of joinery that wraps all the way around it with seating on it, and really playful colours in those pendant lights and those chairs. And then if I move my mouse, you can see at this end there's a whole lot of vertical storage happening as well. So quite a functional island bench. This one's really nice. It has a small fridge in it. It's got the underbench oven, the cooktop, the sink, and then this little glass seating table at this end, and then more prep area over there. So a really interesting smaller solution kitchen. This one here, you'll notice at the back, the kitchen is actually behind doors. So we have this one sort of giant cooking or cleaning island bench. It's got the sink, and then all our cooking and our refrigeration is behind doors, as is the TV. So when those doors are shut, I should imagine it's quite a minimalist style of living and style of kitchen, but be mindful of the fact that if you wanted to use that kitchen, you have got those doors open the whole time. There's another angle for that tiled island bench that we saw with the interesting pendant light above. As you can see, it is all that one material, so that is interesting in itself. Another tiled island bench, this one's black, which is working really well with that color palette, and they've carried that through to the island, to the pendant lighting. So I really enjoyed the color combination of that particular kitchen. This one here, it was that cantilevered concrete form over the house end of this pool space. In Australia, be aware we would need to actually put a pool fence around this pool, but I did really enjoy the way the pool was integrating with the architecture at the end. This one here was an interesting fence solution. As you can see, it's sort of a brick screen type situation, and then when we get to the gates, it becomes a full wire gate. So that was kind of an interesting use of material. This one here, I just simply loved the round windows on top of those long elongated rectangles. I just really liked the curve, so that's why that's made the board. You will find that under architectural forms, curved forms. This one here, excuse me, is like it must be in a cold climate. I say that for the angle of the roof and also the fact that they've got so much glass in there. Down here in Australia, that would be a conservatory hot box. But it is in fact a residential property. There is a kitchen, there is a toilet behind the solid stone section is where your toilet rooms are, but the rest of the house, the living spaces are on show, and a really interesting shape at that. And then to finish off with today is a broader view of this gate and fence detail just here. So you can see the overall material palette as seen from the street. So I really just enjoyed that as a fence. And then finally, these giant doors with the cantilevered extending floor and ceiling sort of line above. So that was everything that has come in over the Easter weekend. As you saw, a lot of kitchens, a lot of vanities, a lot of materials. If you are looking for more content, we do have Bespoke Derbyshire House 4, 5, and 6 went up over the weekend on Pinterest. These videos are also all available on YouTube and our Instagram channel if that's where you like to watch your videos. Thank you so much for joining me for another episode of Bespoke Architects Daily Pinup. I'm Nicole Walters, and I look forward to seeing you in our next episode. Thanks so much.